Here we go.
So a state of panic mode. I'm in confusion. I am shocked. How can he be missing? Surely, how can a grown-up be missing? How can Willie be missing? Of all the people, how can Willie be missing?
Kama ni Mwenda amemaliza siku 3 na haja kupigia simu aende kuulize mtoto wako aje, hapo sioni kama Mwenda kwa pale pazuri.
So inakaa watu wanauliwa na ni uchungu sana. Kupoteza mtu through kuuliwa inakuanga chungu sana. Afadhali mtu agonjeke lakini sio kuuliwa.
It was crushing, knowing that these guys were just working. Joseph Moirori was a taxi driver, a very gentle soul, and the only crime he had was just transporting Willie and Josephat to court. He knew nothing about the case. His work was just to come to court, wait for us in the parking lot, and go back. It was crushing for Josephat having to suffer the fate he suffered because he complained and decided to follow up his right against a police officer who abused his power. And given the kind of trouble he had gone through trying to prove his innocence, it was not enough that his life had also to be taken. For Willie, it was the most crushing thing, knowing that he was not even the target. That I'm the one who was doing the case, but instead of me being the one to be targeted, he ended up being there because he was accompanying our client.
My name is Willie Kimani. I work as a field investigator in the Kenyan office. I'm sure part of the job is when I'm in the field and I'm doing more of undercover operations and interviewing witnesses and especially when I get credible information from witnesses. I think I'm very happy at that moment and I feel like
Criminal case number 57 of 2016. It is a case that triggered a lot of interest locally and internationally. The legal fraternity took to the streets, with the lawyers accusing the government of condoning police brutality. Frederick Leliman, Stephen Chaburet Morogo, Sylvia Wanjiko Wanjohi, Leonard Maina Mwangi. The fifth accused person, Peter Ngoge Kamau, was a businessman.
The reason Willie was killed was he was a collateral damage to Mwenda's proceedings, all investigations that were being carried out by IPOA.
Mwenda tulijua naye nilikuwa shule, nilikuwa form 3.
April 10, 2015, Josephat Mwenda, a Barbara rider, is flagged down by police officer Frederick Lilleman, who allegedly shoots him, injuring his hand.
That the firearm that Lilleman was using in the police operation was a private firearm, which was not registered and which he did not have a license for. Yes. So we took up the case based on that, and we were convinced that Josephat Mwenda was telling us the truth, that he had not been involved in any wrongdoing.
3 days later, Josephat Mwenda is charged with 3 counts: drug possession, gambling, and resisting arrest.
Of course, part of the exhibits included some cannabis sativa, which we usually call bang, that was put on him to prove that he had actually been found with it.
Mwenda complains to the Independent Police Oversight Authority.
Mwenda had made a report or a complaint with us, and we took up the complaint and we were actually investigating Leliman. And in the meantime, Mwenda had been charged with trumped up charges in a bid to dissuade him to pursue his complaint. And the charges that Mwenda had been charged with, he was charged with another person. There were two people. They had been charged with robbery, with violence. But all this was to dissuade Mwenda from pursuing the complaint to the Independent Police Oversight Authority.
Once Independent Police Oversight Authority started doing the investigations, part of the investigations entailed interrogating Frederick Leliman and him recording a statement. It is then that he knew that he was being investigated for the wrongful shooting of Josephat Mwenda.
December 14, 2015, Frederick Leliman, in the company of other police officers, allegedly abducts Mwenda from his home in Mlolongo at night.
We receive a report that Josephat Mwenda, who was living in a house, a plot which had other houses, and they shared a common toilet. At 7 p.m. he had gone to relieve himself in the toilet, and then he was kidnapped by police officers. We did a frantic search, because it was the wife who actually informed us that he had been kidnapped. We did a frantic search, and Willie Kimani was able to locate him in Mlolongo police station. Upon inquiring, we were informed that he had been arrested in connection to a crime that had been committed in Mlolongo.
The following day, Mwenda is charged with 6 additional counts of traffic violation.
When we went to court, we found that he had actually been charged with 5 traffic offenses. And these 5 traffic offenses were, number one, the first charge was that he had been riding on a motorcycle with 3 pillion passengers. So you can imagine a motorcycle with 3 passengers. That's 4 people on a motorcycle. He had been charged for not wearing a helmet. He had been charged for not wearing a reflective vest. He had been charged for not having a driving license. He had been charged for not having insurance in the motorcycle. And it was alleged that the same officer who was involved in the initial arrest, Frederick Leliman, was one of the arresting officers.
February 4, 2016, the International Justice Mission officially takes up the matter and assigns one of its lawyers, Willie Kimani, an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
Willie was very much dedicated to his career, even though to me, I never thought that he would be a field investigator, investigating specifically the police. But when you look back at his career history, because he started with the released political prisoners, you will see he had a passion. He used to mention his handling cases, though he would not tell you in detail what kind of cases, but he would mention, this day we are going to go to court, we are going to do this and this. Even when they win a case, he used to be very, very excited. We are going to celebrate. We've won a case. So he'll not go into details about the case.
Willie Kimani's investigation of Mwenda's complaint verified the claims and compiled evidence needed for the International Justice Mission to represent Mwenda in court.
We have a process where we have to subject referrals to investigations just to make sure that we don't end up representing criminals. So we go through that process to make sure that we're representing victims of police injustice and misconduct. So investigations were carried out, and the team decided that this was a case that was fit for us.
This does not go down well with Frederick Leliman.
This case has brought many, many issues. It's important to note that the officers were trying to intimidate the witnesses, and that is one of the challenges that the authority faces when we are carrying out investigations of that nature.
He starts putting together a hit squad that would include Peter Ngowe Kamau.
In early May 2016, while at Mulongo Police Canteen, Senior Sergeant Leliman approached me and he told me that he needed some assistance from me. He told me that there was an issue that was bothering him. He further told me that he had in the previous encountered a situation that forced him to shoot at thugs on a motorcycle, injuring one person. He said that the person who was injured wanted to have him sacked and taken to jail. He therefore requested me to think over it and discuss it later.
In the few days that followed after that, Josephat Mwenda got threats from Frederick Leleman, telling him to withdraw his complaint with IPOA. And at that point, we started getting a bit hesitant about the case, and we started doing more research about Leleman, and our research really got us unsettled.
The International Justice Mission, the 24th of February 2016, writes to the Office of the Inspector General of Police, that of the Independent Police Oversight Authority and the Witness Protection Agency complaining of Leleman's misconduct and request protection from Mwenda. On the 1st of March, the Witness Protection Agency decision on the witness protection for Josephat Mwenda is still pending.
For you, first of all, to qualify to be under the Witness Protection Agency, you must be a witness in a government case. Two criteria: witness, government case. Josephat Mwenda was not a witness. Josephat Mwenda, at this point in time, the system recognized him as an accused person whom the state was prosecuting. So that put Witness Protection Agency in a dilemma. So the only person who could actually clarify to them on the merits of these issues was either the prosecutor or the police or the IPOA. But at this point in time, he's made a complaint against the police. So the only person who can actually explain to them whether these allegations are true that we're making is the investigating agency, which is IPOA. The prosecutor cannot, because he's not an investigating agency. So that was a dilemma.
The Independent Police Oversight Authority summoned Leleman on 16th of March 2016 to write a statement about the claims of misconduct against Mwenda.
Leleman had actually shot Mwenda in an altercation over a simple traffic offense. So we were informed from the word go.
We were attending a hearing of the case, the first hearing of the gambling case. And we were in court. While we were in court, the first witness who was testifying was Frederick Leleman. And I got to cross-examine him because I was the lawyer on record. And it was during that case I was able to cross-examine him and have him admit that, first of all, he had shot Josephat Mwenda, which he had denied. And the second thing is that I also got the court to now understand that the firearm he used was not a police-issue firearm. It was an unregistered firearm.
On June 22nd, 2016, Frederick Leleman meets Peter Ngogi Kamau in Mlolongo and tells him the plans to kill Mwenda were still on since his reporting him to the Independent Police Oversight Authority was most likely going to end his career in the police force.
On 22nd June 2016, I met Senior Sergeant Leleman at Molongo Police Canteen. He told me that the plan was still on to kill the wanted man. What he wanted me to do was to follow him after court attendance and inform Senior Sergeant Leleman about his movement. I asked him how I would identify him because I had not met him before. He told me not to worry, as he was going to introduce a lady who knew the victim very well.
The following day, that is on 23rd June 2016, Willie Kimani, Josephat Mwenda, and their driver Joseph Mwiruri are abducted while leaving MAVOKO Law Court after a hearing of the traffic violation charges against Mwenda. The three are held in police temporary cells in a container without being booked.
He left home at around 6 a.m. in the morning, and he left with his bag of snacks he used to share with the team they're going to go with to court. Though that day he had informed me he's going to go to MAVOKO law courts, and then he would come home. He was supposed to be home actually by 2 p.m.
Sasa venye walitoka hiyo siku tu nilishinda kama niko na wasiwasi fulani, nafikiria nimpigie, lakini naona kama wako kwa koti, wacha nisimsumbue, nitampigia baadaye ama wakitoka ataniambia wametoka kama kawaida.
Willie manages to write a note to Mwenda's wife calling for help and throws it outside through an opening in the cell. It is later found by a motorbike rider.
Kitu saa 10 niliweza kutumia Priscomi na new number. Nikatumia ya kwanza, ya pili na ya tatu. Ya tatu ndio nichukua nikampigia, nikamuuliza ni nani. Akaniambia yeye ameokota karatasi siku imeandikwa Mwenda na Willie wameshikwa na wako kwa hali ya hatari sana. Nifanye venye nitaweza kuwasaidia. Saa mimi nikachukua nikapigia INGM. Nikapigia manda mwingine anaitangwa Rose.
Lakini on Monday ndio nilipigia bradhangu nikamwambia sioni kama huyu bradhangu tutampata sasa. Anambia sasa wacha tuanze kuwatafuta kwa mortuaries.
As the search is going on, Lelimano receives a call from one of the officers manning the APC Okimau post. He was told that one of the victims had managed to inform his family where they were locked up. Leliman and the rest panicked.
Senior Sergeant Leliman went to an adjacent room and picked the keys to the cells. He opened the cells and ordered the victims into his wing road. Sergeant Mwangi handcuffed all the prisoners while in the boot. Each of the victims was handcuffed from behind.
Wakati ilikuwa mkati mgumu sana juu hata wenye tulikuwa tunaongea na wao venye siku ya kwanza ilipita kwanza kama kazini yake anipigia kama ni Mwenda amemaliza siku 3 naja kupigia simu aende kuulize mtoto wako aje hapo sioni kama Mwenda kwa pale pazuri.
But after day 3 I started fearing the worst. I started fearing that these guys could have been killed. The question was how and where were they? And I remember we even ran to court to get orders for production of their bodies, dead or alive.
From the AP post in Mlolongo, the victims were driven to a bush area just a few meters from the Mombasa highway. For 3 hours, the squad could not agree on what to do with the victims.
At around 10 p.m., the first victim, who was the main target, who is also the man that had been identified to me early in the morning at the law court, was killed. He was strangled to death using a rope and a nylon paper.
The second victim was murdered an hour later, with the last murder happening immediately thereafter.
All the 3 victims were killed and the bodies placed in 2 cars. We took off towards the main Mombasa-Nairobi highway. I drove the wing road, which had 2 bodies, while the NZD with the other body was driven by Kamenju. Senior Sergeant Leliman was in my car, while Sergeant Mwangi was in Kamenju's car.
The following day, on June 24th, 2016, a missing persons report is filed. IJM staff and police continue to search across the police stations and morgues. Lawyers in Kenya stage demonstrations to condemn police brutality. Between June 30th and July 1st, 2016, the bodies of Willie Kimani, Josephat Mwenda, and Joseph Mirori are found in a river in Oldonyo Sabuk, Machakos County.
We received word that some bodies had been recovered from Oldonyo Sabuk, and these bodies were positively identified by some members of our staff as belonging to our dead brother and Josephat and Joseph Mirori.
Tafuta sasa kwa siku kadhaa sasa ndipo tulikuja kuambiwa sasa mili yao ime.
So IJM called on Friday morning, and They informed me that Willie's body was found, and now I should go to the city mortuary to identify the body.
Joseph Dingori Muiruri alikuwa bradhangu. Mamangu alipass 1998. Joseph ni kama alikuwa na 9 years hapo. Na my dad aliaga 2005. So hatuna wazazi.
Consequently, when Willie Kimani was killed, the authority also directed some of our investigators and legal counsel to also be in court to follow up on the prosecution now of Mr. Leliman and the 2 co-accused persons to see to the conclusion of the matter. So it's a matter that the authority followed very closely.
Between July 1st and July 5th, 2016, 4 police officers, Frederick Leliman, Stephen Chaburet, Sylvia Wanjiku, and Leonard Mwangi, are detained in connection with the killings. July 8th, 2016, a memorial service is held for the late Willie Kimani, Josephat Mwenda, and Joseph Muiruri. The judicial process took 7 years. The breakthrough for the investigators was the fact that Frederick Leliman's police radio was on throughout. Their movements were tracked and corroborated the confession by Peter Ngugi. The distress note written by Willie Kimani was also part of the breakthrough. On the 22nd of July 2022, the road to justice for the MAVOKO 3 took 6 years, with Justice Lesito rendering guilty verdict on 4 of the 5 accused persons.
Carefully considered the entire evidence adduced in this case by both sides, and have considered the submissions by counsel the authorities relied upon, and having done so, I find that the circumstantial evidence established against the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th accused persons justify the drawing of an inference of guilt.
The sentencing happened 6 months later, on the 3rd of February 2023.
The first accused is sentenced to death in each of the 3 counts. The death sentence in counts 2 and 3 are held in abeyance.
Frederick Leliman was handed a death sentence. Stephen Chaburet got 30 years. Sylvia Wanjiku 24 years in prison, and Peter Ngugi 20 years in prison. Leonard Maina was acquitted.
When we received the judgment, actually, we were overjoyed. We were really overjoyed. At least it gave us hope that we are really coming to an end, and that at least Willie's death was not in vain. Just ile tu mtu ati anauliwa tu alafu anatupwa na tunamzika anasaulika, and his work was not in vain, because that is what he stood for and he believed in.
And even after the judgment, we did a press conference where we applauded the findings of the court.
Even as he serves a death sentence in jail, Frederick Leliman is facing another case of 2 murders in Machakos. So is Leonard Maina Mwangi, who was acquitted. He too is facing a murder case, but not related to that of Leliman.
Every day when I wake up, I am so grateful for it's the gift of life, and also the gift of good health, and also the gift of having children, because for me the children, they remind me so much about Willie, and I also know that Willie lives through the children. Well, you cannot wish that they don't ask the questions, because they are growing every day. They are growing, and of course their mind is maturing. So of course I normally expect any time they are going to ask a question in regards to their dad. So even if I'm not prepared or not ready, I have to look for an answer.
Mi kulingana venye neza ambia au askari wenye wanaua wanaacha watu wengine kwa shinda. Juu kama mimi walichukua kaua bwana. Sasa naona venye wameua bwana, mimi nimebaki kama niko mjane. Sasa nitakuwa nimebaki kama ni mimi mama na mimi baba wa yule mtoto. Unafanya mambo zote mbili na ni ngumu.
I would also wish to caution officers, because if you followed the judgment well, you will find that one of the officers, the only link that made her get convicted was her failure to record in the OB the arrest and the incarceration of the three.
Well, that is about it for the MAVOKO triple murder. For Crime and Justice, I am Gachoka King'ori.